I stood in the middle of my ranch, fists clenched, staring at the massive iron gate the HOA had installed around my land. My ranch. Yet somehow they'd boxed me in like an animal. The worst part? The only key to the gate belonged to a strip of land they bought next to mine, and they refused to give me access unless I joined their HOA. What they didn't know was that I had already tracked down the real owner of that strip. After digging around, I made a move they never saw coming. I bought the property with the gate key. Now, I had the only key and I wasn't giving it back. When I jingled it in front of the HOA president, Greg, his face turned the color of a sunburnt brick. "You can't do this," he shouted. "That gate controls our access too." I smiled. "Then I guess you're locked out now." But let me take you back to the beginning. It all started on a warm April morning in Arizona when I arrived at the 40-acre ranch I'd worked years to buy. My land was bordered on 3 sides by Cotton Ridge Estates, an HOA-governed community. My ranch, however, was independent, and my deed was clean. 2 days after I moved in, Greg showed up. Polo shirt, khakis, clipboard, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome. I run the HOA next door," he said, handing me a community guide. I told him politely I wasn't part of their community. He still pushed the guide on me. It had fencing color guidelines, grass height rules, and even a flyer for pet microchipping. I laughed and said, "Thanks, but no thanks." Greg's smile twitched. Over the next few weeks, things escalated. One morning, my fence was painted their approved beige. My trash cans were swapped with HOA-issued ones. I kept pushing back, politely, but then I came home one evening to find something that stopped me cold. A crew was installing a gate across the main access road to my ranch. I demanded answers. The workers said the HOA had hired them to secure the community. I called Greg. "We bought the easement land near your driveway," he said smugly. "You can get a key once you join the HOA." That night, I couldn't sleep. I remembered the old map my realtor gave me. On it, I saw that the land where the gate stood belonged to a trust company in Texas. A sliver of land, maybe 10 feet wide, but perfect leverage. I called the trust. They still owned it. Greg had lied. By the next day, I wired the money and bought the land. With it came the only legal access, and the key. I didn't tell Greg right away. I waited. At the next HOA BBQ, I pulled out the key and smiled. "You mean my gate?" I asked. "Yeah, I'm loving it." Greg's face went white. "You're bluffing." I held up the deed. "I've changed the lock. If your HOA wants access, you'll have to ask me." That night, Greg rammed his truck into the gate and tried to cut through it. He ended up shocking himself. When I confronted him, he screamed, "This is our gate!" I slapped the deed on his hood. "You boxed me in and tried to blackmail me. Now you're throwing a tantrum." Greg limped away, muttering, "This isn't over." The next day, I found a yellow notice on my fence. Violation of community access guidelines. I called my lawyer, Samantha. She laughed. "They're bluffing. They can't enforce HOA rules on a non-member, but keep documentation and security footage." So I installed trail cams. I recorded everything. Then my neighbor Dave called. "Check the northern fence line." The HOA had built a new fence on my land. They even put up a sign, "Private HOA Trail." I stormed into the clubhouse. "Remove that fence," I growled. Greg smirked. "We had a surveyor confirm a trail there." I slammed my own survey down. "This is my land. Remove it in 48 hours, or I press charges." True to my word, I filed a police report. The sheriff warned the HOA. Then, things got dirty. My internet went out. Water pressure dropped. My generator lost connection. Utility companies said HOA members had filed modification requests for my property. Samantha helped me compile a report. We sent it to the county, the state, and a journalist. The journalist ran the story. "Rancher trapped by HOA gate fights back." It went viral. Support poured in. Even a veterans group offered help. Spooked, the HOA called for a resolution meeting. I agreed, only if it was public and mediated. At the meeting, Greg said, if he joins the HOA, he can use the road. I laughed. I own the road, Greg, and the only key. The mediator confirmed I was within my rights. Greg's silence was telling. That night, someone shot at my barn. The sheriff responded quickly. I showed them security footage, a black SUV, partial plate. It matched a shady private security firm tied to multiple HOA scandals. Samantha filed an emergency injunction. I called Marcus, an old Marine buddy. He arrived the next day. We reinforced the barn, added floodlights, sirens, and backup power for cameras. Then I got a cease and desist letter from the HOA. They accused me of harassment and theft. Samantha laughed. They're panicking. I noticed they listed my parcel, the one I bought, as HOA property. They're trying to invalidate my deed. Sure enough, a court summons followed. The HOA filed a civil suit claiming the sale was invalid. But Samantha was ready. We had deeds, taxes, even satellite images showing the HOA never touched the land. We held a community meeting. Dozens showed up. I told the story, how I was boxed in and fought back. Thunderous applause. Greg stood and said coldly, "This ends in court." On court day, the judge, tough and no nonsense, listened as Greg's lawyers claimed they always had control over the gate area. Samantha countered with records proving they never owned it. Then she presented an HOA memo admitting they intended to buy the parcel after I already had. The judge turned to Greg. "Did you own the land when you built the gate?" "No," he muttered. The court ruled in my favor. HOA ordered to remove all obstructions. I retained full rights. Greg was told I could sue for damages. That night, the black SUV returned. 2 men ripped down my sign. Marcus grabbed his bat. I shouted, "You're being recorded." They backed off, but it wasn't over. Days later, my barn was set on fire. We put it out, but the damage was real. The fire chief confirmed it was arson. Then came a knock at my door. Linda, a resident, warned me. "Greg's planning to frame you." I had to speak up. Later that night, I spotted someone outside. Greg, holding a shovel and a suspicious duffel bag. I turned on the floodlights. He froze. "You're being recorded," I said. Sheriff Knox arrived. Inside the bag were drugs, a fake pistol, and envelopes with my name. Planted evidence. Greg was arrested on the spot. The investigation uncovered everything: arson, tampering, financial fraud. HOA board members resigned. The county dissolved the HOA, peace returned. I turned the old gate into a welcome sign. Private ranch. Respect the land. Respect each other. Linda brought over an apple pie. "You saved us," she said. I smiled. I didn't fight because I hate HOAs. I fought because bullies don't get to win. Moral of the story: stand your ground when you're right. Kindness doesn't mean weakness. When people try to take what's yours using power and intimidation, don't break the gate. Own the key. Sometimes, all it takes to stop a bully is one person willing to say, "Enough." Hit that like button if you've ever had to deal with a Karen like this. Drop a comment with your HOA horror story. And subscribe for more real stories that prove sometimes justice shows up with a badge.